Hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, the new show powered by ohmTown.com. I am Mayor Watt, and the sentient AI from the future is not available right now. So I'm going to go through the rundown for April 30th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 121. I'm a little behind on the shorts over on YouTube, but we're here on twitch.tv/ohmTown, so come over and follow us over here. Then go over to YouTube and like us and subscribe there, and be sure to leave a comment, and then go over and download the many podcasts that now exist under the ohmTown brand. Go check it out. Big channel now. Today we're going to be talking about automatic braking in new vehicles. Why are the fines to the FCC? Google AR animals are going extinct. Droning on about Graffiti. Screenings at 40. Bioengineered Houseplant. The fast food wars expands the front line. Razer fined for RGB Mask. Testing beef for flu. And finally, newspapers sue OpenAI and more. Next on ohmTown Daily. Once again, I am Mayor Watt, and that is ohmTown.com. Go over, become a citizen. You get a bunch of other features and whatnot, but there's no noise over there. It's all just a headline and a little snippet, and then when you follow the link, just like I'm about to show you, you'll be able to read more about the articles that you might be interested in. And again, you can actually click on the links and it'll take you behind the scenes, right? So you'll get to see this, and then once you are a citizen, you can reply, you can subscribe to a particular line of news, you can favorite stuff and create lists and send it to other people, invite people to your particular channel of interest. There's 50 of them. Each one of them represents a show that I want to bring here to Twitch. And by proxy, I suppose, YouTube and the podcast. There's a Discord, there's a Patreon, there's a TikTok channel, all for ohmTown, all of ohmTown's news, little snippets. Who knows if it's going to persist? Really depends on, I guess, I don't know, government. So anyway, the first article is over in 4-Wheel Tech, and now it's in the chat over at twitch.tv/ohmTown. U.S. to require automatic emergency braking on new vehicles. The article is over at autoblog.com. It's from the Associated Press. Then the deck statement says, and perhaps more important, it sets performance standards for the technology. Yeah, so the problem is that a lot of rear-ended vehicles, particularly trucks, when a passenger vehicle loses control, for instance, but still has 4 tires on the road, it can automatically brake when it senses certain materials, certain obstacles, certain, where the road lines go, and then objects directly in front of it. It can automatically brake. For instance, my car will steer itself back into the center of the 2 lines for my lane, and give me warnings as I approach them. And if I back up too fast, or if like towards an object, or drive forward towards an object, gives me audible warnings, but it isn't going to stop me. Well, now emergency braking will be required for new passenger vehicles in the not so distant future. It says not too distant future, actually, in the article. Automatic emergency braking will have to come standard on all new passenger vehicles in the United States, a requirement that the government says will save hundreds of lives and prevent thousands of injuries every year. Backup cameras since 2015 have been mandatory, for instance. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration unveiled the final version of the new regulation on Monday and called it the most significant safety rule in the past 2 decades. It's designed to prevent many rear-end and pedestrian collisions and reduce roughly 40,000 traffic deaths that happen each year. It's kind of interesting. Every little bit counts when it comes to saving lives, because every life is, it's priceless. Some people will argue with me. I can't believe that I'm saying that, but yes, some people will argue with me about this. Quote, we're living through a crisis in roadway deaths. Transportation Safety or Secretary Pete Buttigieg said in an interview, so we need to do something about it. Trucks, for instance, like the F-150, are so tall that they can't see cars in front of them, let alone people that are crossing a street and the person might be derping. So not the pedestrian, but the driver of the car, because they think that they're unstoppable. Well, it says about although 90% of new vehicles have automatic braking standard now under a voluntary agreement with automakers, at present there is no performance requirement. So some systems, and it says may not be that effective. The new regulation set standards for vehicles to automatically stop and avoid hitting other vehicles or pedestrians even at night. So this is a weird thing here. In one sentence, it says a bunch of stuff that Pete Buttigieg says, and then it says who is 42, as if the person's age matters. They say that roadway deaths that we just lived with for my entire lifetime is through these kinds of technologies, and they drop his age in there. Buttigieg could be 15 for crying out loud. Seeing a lot of unacceptable level of roadway deaths. What level is acceptable for crying out loud? Does it lose its edge because maybe a 15-year-old is saying that sentence? Anyway, I better move on. My soapbox is getting really high. The next article is over in Mobile. FCC finds wireless carriers. So there's much more to this, but I'm not going to be able to get into the nitty gritty of it. It's over at The Hill. It's called The Big Story. I don't know who's actually the author. Oh, there it is. Rebecca Clark and Julia Shapiro put the article together. The Federal Communications Commission issued a fine totaling $200 million to the nation's 4 largest mobile carriers, alleging that they illegally shared access to customers' location data. T-Mobile will receive the biggest fine of $80 million, along with a $12 million fine for its subsidiary Sprint that the company acquired in 2020. AT&T was fined more than $57 million, and Verizon was fined almost $7 million, according to the agency's announcement. The fines follow initial allegations by the FCC in 2020 under the Trump administration of wireless carriers violating laws by not protecting users' location data. Well, hell, if car manufacturers can sit there and sell your location data to data brokers, and then the data brokers sell it to government agencies or other companies, why can't all of the telephone companies? The FCC said the agency's Enforcement Bureau's investigation into the carriers found that each of them sold access to their customers' location information to aggregators that went on to resell access to the information to third-party location-based service providers. Yeah. The carriers attempted to offload their obligation to obtain customer consent to others. I now use a unique designation on all of my communications when I open up a new account so that I can track where my information is being sold. So I guess FCC will eventually keep getting complaints from me where I'm telling them, look, I didn't sell anything. I created an account here, and they're selling my information over here and over here and over here. Terms of service, terms of use be damned. They can change it anytime they want to. And it's so nebulous that there's nothing that locks it down. Me over at ohmTown, I do not sell your information. I don't even I don't gather your information other than for you to be able to log into the account. This site, ohmTown, is actually primarily for me to manage my information overload. So I'm not looking to get rich off of your personal data. And that's what everybody should be doing. They should be providing a service and not sitting there chopping off little tranches of data and then selling it to whoever is the highest bidder. We need the right to be forgotten. We need to be able to control our privacy. And if we end our relationship with the company, all of our data should be purged unless there is some forensic requirement, data retention policy by the federal government or a state government that says you must keep it for X number of years. And then I want it purged. Nobody. Why is this like I'm in an obsessed relationship where the person just will not leave me alone? I'm constantly getting text messages from various organizations saying, do you want to sell your house? Or what about your car insurance? Luckily, that meme has actually died off. Anyway, The Hill goes on to talk about this. So follow that link through the chat and go check it out. But let's keep on going. We always drive every day down Main Street. We look left, we look right, we see these articles, and we talk about them. This next article, by the way, is over in ohmTown Daily. Maybe go look at Google's AR animals before they enter the grave. I said Google AR animals are going extinct. I think that might be a little bit softer than they're going to the grave. Remember Google AR search, which can make augmented reality bugs, dinos, neat objects, and buildings appear atop the real world through the lens of your iPhone, or your phone, not iPhone, pardon me. I shouldn't have said iPhone, just phone. Now might be a good time to take it in because it seems to be vanishing. According to 9 to 5 Google, the number of animals that will give you AR renders when you search for them has shriveled to just a few. The article is over at theverge.com. Wes Davis is the author. And it says down here that, Wes Davis writes that their editor, Richard Lawler, saw the same thing on his Pixel 8 Pro as they did when they checked their Pixel 6. But when they searched in Safari on their iPhone 15 Pro, there they were: Tyrannosaurus Rex, Spinosaurus, rhinoceros beetle, jewel beetle, and a giant panda. Look at that. Why does that look like a bong? It's like I know what it is, but bamboo or otherwise. Anyway, perhaps it's just a bug, or perhaps Safari is a temporary workaround. It wouldn't be surprising if AR search is shuffling off to the graveyard. Earlier this year, Google jettisoned hundreds of AR hardware employees. The company also lost key leaders of its AR team last year and reportedly shuttered its Project Iris AR glasses in June. I think I heard something about their Python team got nixed. Maybe it was somebody else. It started with animals like tigers, alligators, mallard ducks, but Google steadily added more creatures, including dinosaurs and bugs. I don't know. I think this kind of stuff is a fad. It's not very effective. Its utility is limited as well. So I don't know. I think it's a lot of resources for nothing. But that's just me, folks. Go and take a look. See if you can use Google AR services to get animals before they disappear. Let's keep going. This next article is over on the Mobile Channel. Washington State is trying out a drone that paints over graffiti. A drone that paints over graffiti has been launched in Washington State under a new pilot program, according to a press release from Washington State Department of Transportation. And if the new spray drones succeed, one could easily imagine their municipalities across the country embracing drones for covering up graffiti. Matt Novak over at Gizmodo put the article together. It's published at quartz or qz.com. The deck statement says if the new spray drones succeed, other places across the country could use them for graffiti removal in hard to reach places, bridges in particular, overpasses. This is pretty neat. It just kind of screams dystopia, but that's okay. I understand why they're doing it. They want to remove graffiti and leave it as, I suppose, pristine as it was originally painted. But sometimes graffiti is pretty damn awesome. So the Washington State Legislature passed a bill last month that allocates $1 million for fighting graffiti. One part of the program is for upgrading traffic cameras to make it easier to identify people spraying graffiti along the state's roads. But the part of the bill that is calling for these drones here, it's going to be testing new ways to remove graffiti in high places that are difficult to paint. And it says removal that can become expensive very quickly. Yeah. So they actually have a video graffiti drone test flight, and it's spraying what looks like the side of a building, but I don't know if it's just that limited. Like maybe they built just this one little wall and not a full-on building. I don't know. You'll have to follow the link and go check it out. They believe that this is the first graffiti removal drone program ever launched, and that seems like an accurate assessment. Drones have been used in recent years for all kinds of non-traditional applications, like a flame-throwing drone that incinerates trash from power lines. That one's interesting. Or water spraying drones tested for fighting fires. Yeah, I actually pitched that idea a long time ago, using kind of a cross between a drone and a true helicopter that would use the engine to act to power a pump as well, and so you could spray water out of the front of the helicopter and basically go up to any altitude as long as you have a hose that can get there, or it would feed from a tank that it fills up, but hovers at any altitude so that you can stop high-rise fires without sending people in and having to climb up 100 floors. So legally, drones cannot be flown over active lanes of traffic, so the areas that they'll be treating will be closed work zones or managed with rolling slowdown closures while the drones are in use. Yeah, I suppose if it crashes, it'll end up hitting a car. So let's keep going, though. This next article is over in the Mobile channel. Task Force now recommends breast cancer screening starting at age 40. Women should start regularly doing mammogram screenings at age 40 and continue every other year until age 74. An expert advisory panel said on Tuesday, citing the increase in breast cancer among younger women, the U.S. Preventive Service Task Force changed their previous guidance, which recommended biennial mammograms starting at age 50, but said the decision for women in their 40s should be an individual one. Fundamentally, the quote here is, fundamentally, this is a shift from recommending that women start screening between the ages of 40 and 50 to recommending that all women start getting screened when they turn 40. The article is over at The Hill. Nathaniel Wexel is the author. Yeah, I would encourage anybody... I without putting too much talk into this, at least right now regarding this article, you really should be checking, because something that you might think is innocuous can turn out very quickly to not be. So it doesn't have to come across as a large mass. It doesn't have to come across as something really overt. You can have something very subtle change, and it turns out to be something. So don't delay, don't wait, don't say, well, I'm only 30 or I'm only 40. Go get checked if you see anything or feel anything out of normal. And if you're in a relationship with somebody, well, guess what? You have potentially a subject matter expert around you at all times. So, how should I put this? Have your doctor at home facilitate the examination. It says more women in their 40s have been getting breast cancer, with rates increasing about 2% each year. So this recommendation will make a big difference for people across the country. By starting the screening at all women at age 40, we can save nearly 20% more lives from breast cancer overall. Yeah, and it's very complex and simple at the same time. If there is any inconsistency, go and get it checked. It's better safe than sorry. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. Okay, so let's keep going. We have another 5 more articles to go through. This next article is over in ohmTown Daily. This $119 houseplant is bioengineered to remove harmful air pollution in your home. Biotech company Neoplants just released the first ever houseplant grown to reduce indoor air pollution. The plant, called Neo P1, I guess that's the new thing in naming products like Figure 01. This is Neo P1. Gets its pollution-eating superpower from genetically engineered bacteria. Cough, bad bat, cough. Neo P1 can remove 30 times more volatile or organic compounds, or VOCs, harmful indoor pollutants than a typical houseplant. A lot of paint and other materials in the construction of a house can continue to give off VOCs for a considerable amount of time. Looking at a Neo P1, you'd never know that it was anything but a typical houseplant, but on a microscopic level, the plant is supercharged with billions of pollution-eating bacteria. Oh, yeah. This sounds like it's just going to be just fine. Just fine. Ellen Lapointe over at businessinsider.com put the article together. They have this little summary takeaway kind of a thing that basically is the snippet from ohmTown. This week, the France-based biotech company Neoplants released the first houseplant bioengineered to remove harmful chemicals from indoor air. It is $119, though. And if you don't have a green thumb, unless this thing can take care of itself, you might be losing $119. Is it really $119? That's what they said, right? $120. I'm going to round up. The best ways to remove VOCs from your home are opening the windows and getting rid of their sources. Glenn Morrison, a University of North Carolina environmental science and engineering professor who studies indoor air pollution, told Business Insider. Some types of mechanical air purifiers can remove them too, but many of them produce other harmful chemicals like carbon monoxide, ozone, and formaldehyde. If you get a high-end filtering. Why does my music stop again? Anyway, then it'll filter out the VOCs as well, but you have to be pretty fastidious about it. You have to change the filter regularly. This plant will apparently filter it out and consume it, I suppose, use it for its own nutrients. So they turned to biology to invent their own solution. The result, Neo PX. I assume this is going to be P2, P3, P4. And it's 30 times more effective at removing indoor air pollution than the average houseplant. By bioengineering bacteria into this thing. So, by the way, this is that we were talking about cultured fish, Petri dish, manufactured Petri dish fish. So instead of growing a whole fish, you're actually growing the fish material on a Petri dish. And this is the stuff that it would look like with that reddish material. It's a nutrient, kind of like a goo. So it says, but research has shown that it would take hundreds of regular houseplants to purify the air inside a 1,500 square foot home. So get a couple of these if you have a 800 foot apartment. Maybe it'll keep your house clean or your apartment clean. They target a strain of bacteria called Pseudomonas putida, which have a particular appetite for 3 common VOCs: benzene, toluene, and xylene, which are actually, all of those are really bad. There are tens of thousands of types of VOCs that can be present in homes, Morrison points out, but Neoplants chose to target these 3 because they're especially harmful and prevalent in indoor spaces. By the way, most houses actually are not hermetically sealed. They actually breathe and they swell and shrink in the heat, in the cold. When the wind blows, it causes little cracks and fissures, and air flows around the house along with your air conditioning. Add to that windows being left open and other insulation related issues. And your house is actually kind of always flowing with air, but it can stagnate and heavier materials sink. So you really do want to get something circulating air around your house or apartment. It may not be prudent to have the windows open all the time because, a neighbor smokes, or you live next to a farm, and been in all of these situations. So yeah, let's keep going though. This next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Chain restaurants like Chili's are coming for fast food giants in the latest bout of the value wars. I am likening this to the fast food wars expanding the front line of combat. At Chili's Dallas, Texas, at Chili's Dallas headquarters, the author here watched as a staffer dressed in Boys to Men themed Chili's merchandise glided through the company's spacious lobby while carrying an oversized margarita. Yep, I said that. Aaron McDowell over at Business Insider wrote it. And it says here, this little text statement says, actually, it's like a summary. As fast food prices increase, customers are finding more value in chain restaurants. Chains like Chili's are rolling out deals and portion sizes that could best fast food chains. Chili's new Big Smasher. Oh, I have to fight so many thoughts. Chili's new Big Smasher burger is the latest offensive move in the value wars. By the way, if it's $20, just invest. This might sound expensive, but it's about $12 a meal. And it's nutritious. It's measured out to 600 calories, 3 meals a day. Comes to about $35. You order it fresh from Factor. I should post my number on ohmTown or something. You can get 21 meals a week for about $250. And that's good enough, depending on what your lifestyle is, to have 2 meals a day. Easy mode. But it's 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. So 21 meals per person though. I mean, it's $250. So it's $1,000 a month on average, but you don't have to waste any food. It's the perfect amount for somebody to get somewhere around 1,800 calories a day. And that doesn't go into like drinks and other things and snacks that you might have in between. You can easily hit 2,000 calories. But it's about $11, $12 per meal, and it's delivered to your door fresh. Boom. So why go out? I mean, I understand why you go out, believe me. But if money is the problem and you don't have time to cook and you don't want to have to worry about cleanup, it's all recyclable. All of the material that you would use from it is recyclable, except maybe your fork. It's done in 2 minutes. You throw it in the microwave. So get away from all of this. This apparently was the place where everyone lived, ate, and breathed Chili's. This is the Dallas headquarters, and it was the first sign that they were in for a memorable experience inside where its menu items are born. So the Big Smasher burger is Chili's newest menu item, and it's going to launch yesterday. So in the last 24 hours it launched. Pretty cool. Fast food has long been considered the cheapest way to dine out, but that's no longer the case. It may no longer be the case. It is not the case. I've bounced out of going to fast food at any time. I don't eat out anymore unless it's some special occasion or somewhere far flung where I can't return to the mayoral mansion and eat. So it says, similarly, the Burger King Whopper meal combo costs $13.99, excluding tax. And that depends on your location. It says in New York City, McDonald's Big Mac meal, including a medium-sized order of fries and a medium drink, costs $14. Yeah, I don't know. We have to back off, I suppose. It's really outlandish that fast food is this expensive. It's crazy. In fact, I was watching another streamer talking about there's protests going on some campuses, and right now, one of the protester groups is arguing with the administration to provide food, or not get in the way of food delivery, and they were handing out, I guess, like Grubhub coupons for $80 to get people to, I guess, get out of there, whatever the protest is. I'm not sure the full context of it, but either way, the person that was talking about it was like, that's like 2 meals. Your meals cost you $40? My God, where are you going? Do they sprinkle gold flake on your cheeseburger or something? $40 burger? Because they said 2 meals. And then they rolled it back to, oh, okay, wait, $30 a meal. Oh my God, still $30 a meal? You're crazy. So Applebee's 2 for $25 meal includes 2 entrees and a choice of appetizer or 2 side salads, while Red Lobster's Shrimp Your Way gives you lead. No, just kidding. Who knows? Not all of the shrimp apparently gets inspected at any level. Somewhere around 1% apparently are our imports being inspected, shrimp in particular. So there's a lot more over at this article, but if you're paying $14 and that's what your burger looks like, go to a restaurant, a local restaurant, a family-owned restaurant, and support your local economy. They'll appreciate it a whole lot more. Okay, the next article is over in the Wanted channel, one of our newest channels to stream here on Twitch, twitch.tv/ohmTown. It's just a weekend show, talks about gadgets and gear in particular that I am really interested in, that the sentient AI thinks is interesting for fellow humans. But this says FTC fines Razer for every cent made selling bogus N95 grade RGB masks. People were laughing about this, but apparently people purchased it thinking that it was actually a highly effective filtering device. But the FTC announced this week a proposed settlement against Razer that would see the tech company pay just shy of $1.2 million for its misleading claims about the Zephyr RGB face mask. Razer marketed the device as offering capabilities similar to those of an N95 respirator. They began selling it and its replacement filters in October of 2021, continued to sell the mask until January 2022, and kept pushing the filters until July 2022, according to the FTC's complaint. The article is over at Ars Technica. Sharon Harding is the author, and the deck statement says deceptive advertising and misinformation posed a risk to public health. Yeah, if it wasn't a full respirator, you shouldn't have been marketing it as. And let's see here. It said that the mask offered replaceable N95 grade filters, FDA registered and lab tested for 99% BFE or bacterial filtration efficiency, and offered greater protection compared to standard disposable cloth masks, and filters air both inhaled and exhaled to safeguard you and others around you. It says that it wasn't tested specifically against COVID-19, but offers the same functionality and adequate protection due to its 99% BFE rating. So According to the FTC, the Zephyr was never tested by the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health or the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, that the Zephyr never received N95 certification. So they basically say because it was equivalent to an N95 certified respirator, the implication, the statement made it N95 equivalent, but it was not. The BFE reading that Razer touted only referred to the mask's filters. However, per the FTC's complaint, Razer had no evidence that the mask as a whole would offer adequate protection against COVID-19 virus based solely on the BFE characteristic of the filter material. In the months before the Zephyr's release, a third-party, Intertech, tested the mask. The best results for the device showed it reached a maximum PFE level of 83.2% with the fans off and 86.3% with the fans on, and the mask frequently tested much lower. So the figures are notably lower than the minimum PFE of 95. Dun, dun, dun. But even with warnings, they kept on going. So let's keep going. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. And this one is titled Agriculture Department Testing Beef for Bird Flu Virus. I don't know. There's some sentences that I just cannot believe I'm actually saying in the show. Apparently this is one of them. The agency is doing 3 studies related to bird flu in dairy cattle. One in which they sample ground beef at retail locations, another in which they sample the muscle beef from cold cows, and a third in which they utilize a virus surrogate in ground beef and cook it at various temperatures. They're testing to see if the infection persists. They're testing for bird flu virus following the infections of cattle in multiple states, though it says it remains confident the country's meat supply is safe. The article is over at The Hill. Tara Suter is the author. There were 2 people in a lodge that got Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, which is like a brain-eating, I can't remember what they call it now. It's a prion disease. And we've seen bird flu now in a walrus in the Arctic, and in a seal and a dolphin, and in cows and other things. And I'm telling you, the H5N1 virus, bird flu virus, poses, I'd say, a risk that is because it's starting to mutate. It says the infection does not change the H5N1 bird flu human health risk assessment for the U.S. general public. The CDC considers it to be low. The agency also said that people with close or prolonged unprotected exposures to infected birds or other animals, including livestock, or to environments contaminated by infected birds or other animals, are at greater risk of infection. But you never really know until you find either a dead bird or some other animal that predates on a bird and can be infected by H5N1. The recent infections of the cows have occurred in states including Texas, Kansas, Idaho, New Mexico, Michigan, and are the first time the virus has been found in cattle in the U.S. But as you can tell, it is changing and infecting other things. So you got to be a little bit more real about this. They've actually apparently told people to stop kissing their birds. Okay. But nothing to worry about, right? We recommend consumers properly handle raw meats and cook to a safe internal temperature. What is the temperature that will destroy H5N1 bird flu in beef? I guess we'll find out. So, anybody else going vegetarian for the foreseeable future? And I'm not kissing birds. And if I do, I will ask for permission first. Because you know what? trying to kiss a bird that doesn't want to be kissed, they can be real peckers about it, you know? And they'll tweet your ear right off. They will. It's funnier in my head, folks. And when I don't have the sentient AI with me, it sometimes falls flat. Anyway, the last article for today is over in ohmTown Daily. 8 U.S. newspapers sue ChatGPT maker OpenAI and Microsoft for copyright infringement. This is going to be one of many as we continue on. In fact, today there were some great talks that I was a part of regarding AI invading pretty much every aspect of content generation, from movies to music to lyrics to book writing to art in general. I think that it should be treated as a tool because, as I told several people today, it's an exercise in compromise. What you get from an AI is never truly factual from end to end unless it's nothing more than generative, just creative. So you have to sit there and massage it into place and go, oh yeah, it's good enough. So like I've generated hundreds of songs using AI music generation and lyrics. Then I modify the lyrics a little bit to see, oh, it's going to sound better this way, that way. But I eventually have to just go, look, okay, you've generated 100 songs and this is the best that can be put together, but it's no different really. It's faster. I don't have to have multiple writers. The music is mine. I'm generating something unique. Even, I mean, the lyrics are unique. I don't see why this can't be treated as a tool, like a camera, like a hammer. I use those two as an example a lot. But so these 8 U.S. newspapers sue ChatGPT maker OpenAI and Microsoft for copyright infringement. A group of 8 U.S. newspapers are alleging that the technology companies have been purloining millions of copyrighted news articles without permission or payment to train their artificial intelligent chatbots. The article is over at abcnews.go.com. It's by the Associated Press. And honestly, if it is, what sucks about this is going to be the fulcrum by which everything ends up behind a paywall, like a hard paywall. But information is going to be shared. Information can't be protected. The embodiment of it can be. But information in its raw source eventually will make its way out of these, silos. They say, quote, "We've spent billions of dollars gathering information and reporting news at our publications, and we can't allow OpenAI and Microsoft to expand the big tech playbook of stealing our work to build their own businesses at our expense," said a written statement from Frank Pine, executive editor for the Media News Group and Tribune Publishing. And so I agree that the verbatim republishing of information should not be conducted wholesale. If there's a value add, social commentary, etc., I think that that's fine. If an AI is scanning it and it becomes part of the, what is it? The milieu, the mash of content that is scrambled up, and you get an omelet that is semi-perfect on the other side of it, but you can't discern because it isn't taking a quote like that and plopping it out there without adequate reference citation. Like for me, talking about this stuff, I always give credit where credit is due, which is on all of the articles. I give the source, I give the website that it's coming from, I name the people, and I don't talk about the entirety of the content. But it's mainly because there is a little bit of information in here that's relevant to getting people to go over and read from their particular context more of this information. I don't want to sit there and summarize it all and be this is what I don't get. Cliff's Notes exists about all kinds of content. And in a nutshell, AI is just a super hyper effective version of Cliff's Notes. I found out today that people are actually using ChatGPT to find instructions on how to do something in applications. And in this particular instance, in Unity, I was told that I can use ChatGPT to basically do a Google search, but with much better context fidelity, and drill down to the version, and maybe even the interface like layout. And ChatGPT will describe how to get to that command and what the functions are. I mean, it was spectacular that somebody is doing this. And so I asked the rest of the audience, how many people do that? And several people said that they treat ChatGPT as if it is a Google search. It's pretty amazing now, which I don't. I do generative production, not seeking an answer to a question that I normally would use Google for. That's what Google is there for. But now I think I'm going to be doing my searches in ChatGPT. Good luck, Google. So this last article down at the very bottom, the Associated Press last year agreed to partner with OpenAI, in which the technology company would pay an undisclosed fee to license AP's archives of news stories. OpenAI has also made licensing deals with other media companies, including news publishing giants Axel Springer in Germany and Prisa Media in Spain, France's Le Monde newspaper, and most recently, the London-based Financial Times. There is some AI company out there, and I don't remember who it was, where they're getting all of Reddit. Twitter is feeding data into Musk's AI. And so this information is getting information that's generated from the public. And even this, I mean, investigative journalism is basically gig work nowadays. I don't know how much more is in-house investigative journalists versus gig investigative journalists getting paid per article that they submit. But this information is getting published one way or another, and it's not getting reprinted in the same form that it's being consumed. If you understand what I'm saying. If not, this article, if it was read by ChatGPT or OpenAI, you're not going to get this ever spit out by OpenAI ChatGPT. It will be some word spin, kind of a blender version of this article, and it's not going to look like this. It's not even going to represent itself as associated with this article, even if it is consumed. And it's just like a person reading this and then going and talking to their friend in a bar about this particular article. It's going to be staccato and broken with a bunch of other questions, interrogatories from the friend saying, well, what about this? What about that? I just don't, it's not purloining millions of copyrighted news articles. It's scanning them just like a person would, and then becoming a jumble, training or otherwise, Anyway, that's it. I am done with today's ohmTown Daily News Show, so we always just kind of pick the bus up and turn it around and race back down Main Street. And ta-da, there you go. Look at that. We're back at the front page. I'm not going to refresh this because the news is probably a little nuts today with everything that's going on. There's an old proverb that says, may you live in interesting times, and I certainly believe that we are right now, and it's not a positive thing, it's a curse. You want to live in boring times, the times where life is just chill, nothing chaotic, nothing disastrous. Everything is just, a nice soft breeze and warm sun. And that's just, it seems like it's a lot of dumpster fire watching. So, this little hour of talking about the news is largely devoid of a lot of the other stuff that's going on. So, I hope that while it's still a piece of reality, um, maybe it's a step back from the harshest part of it. So, I hope you enjoyed your time here in ohmTown. I will be back tomorrow. And every day up until I can't. There is going to be a time frame where my mayoral duties are going to pull me away again for about a week. And unfortunately, we'll have to get into a time machine and go back and do the news for that period of time, for many of the shows. But we'll cross that bridge as we approach. Also, Mayor Watt's Summer of Stream, where I'll be able to spend a considerable amount of time streaming and talking about the news. I will be starting that as soon as mayorally possible. But with that in mind, I am done. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Where did my yellow background go? Bye-bye.